Welcome to Future Role Model, a podcast that praises the unconventional and redefines what it means to be a role model. We are basically redefining everything to do with perfection. A retaliation against perfection that's what I like to call it. I said that on John Fugelsang's podcast in New York last week, and I was like, ooh, I really like that. A retaliation against perfection.
That's really good.
And today in the studio, I have the gorgeous, wonderful, funny, talented Krista Allen. Hungover. Should I say hungover?
You can. Oh my gosh. Yes, I drank last night.
Me too.
Are you hungover?
I was this morning. It was one of those things where I didn't drink a ton, but my friend was the bartender where we were at, and so he made.
So why didn't you drink a ton?
I know. Well, and I left because I was like, if I stay here, he's the type of guy that'll be like, do you want a real person drink or a bar pour? You know, it's kind of like being when you're on an island or something where they're like, do you want an island drink or just a stateside version? But you're nice. So you take the bartender pour. So his pours were so meaty.
Wow.
That I was like, if I stay here and accept more of your cocktails, I won't be able to walk soon.
That's amazing.
But
when you said his pores were so meaty, I automatically thought of skin. Is that weird? I don't know. I automatically had this vision of this guy with huge crater pores. I think I'm still drunk.
His pores are so meaty. Oh, that has so many different. Yeah, you could read that a number of different ways.
It's like what the facialist says. Oh my God, I had this client today. His pores were so meaty.
Oh my God. Sometimes you don't realize what you say until you can listen back to it later, and then you're like, wow, that didn't come out the way I had wanted it to. Let me rephrase that. He pours drinks very strongly, and his face is fine.
And his face is not meaty.
His face does not have anything related to meat on it or looking like meat. So Krista.
Yes.
Krista and I I don't know if you remember working with me on Spare Change or not.
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. So Krista's you're kind of newer in the comedy world.
So new. I'm a greenie.
You're a greenie in the stand-up world, but she's a very established actress, and you've been working for 2 decades, really.
Yeah.
Heartily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is incredible.
I know.
You're very, very blessed.
I really am. And I was looking at stuff the other day and realizing that I've gotten a chance to be on some of the most iconic TV shows ever, from Married with Children and Friends and all these really big shows. And I was looking back
and going through major celebrities.
Well, yeah, but just even Married with Children, what a great, I was thinking about it going, I worked on Married with Children.
It's so cool.
Which was I haven't seen that in so long. I wonder if it would still hold up.
I feel like it would, because when I still watch, I still watch Friends. I still go to sleep to Friends because it feels like I have all these buddies in my house with me if I'm drunk or passing out on my couch.
Really? Do you really feel that way?
I do.
Okay.
I do. They're my friends. And my actual friends are keeping me company.
My friends.
But every time I watch old things like that, or even Cheers.
Oh, Cheers is amazing.
Yeah, it's still so poignant.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, Cheers is awesome.
Yeah, you're extremely blessed. We met on that set. So I was doing, I think all my roles ended up on the cutting room floor, which sucked. But I was playing a crazy neighbor in that film.
Yeah.
So I was on set for only 3 days, acting. But I had just met Jonathan and Arturo, the directors of that film.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start learning how to produce. And so I was like, can I volunteer on your production just so I can learn the ropes? And they were like, yeah. So I came on for a couple weeks helping them out.
That's awesome.
And that's how me and Jonathan and I are now pitching a series together.
That is awesome.
5 years later, it was so cool because,
Wait, did you guys write it?
Yeah, so I outlined it based on my stand-up and created the characters, and then he wrote it, and then I edited through.
Oh God, that's the way to do it.
It was really cool because you can't really, it's hard for somebody else. It's hard for you to write your own story because you have to change it. I'm not if you write just an autobiography, they're boring,
Of course.
unless you've made it through a really crazy war or something.
Right.
So, I mean...
Well, there's a lot of them is the thing, too.
Yeah, and nobody really cares. I don't mean to say that in a bad way, but everybody has a story. Literally everybody has a story.
Of course.
And if you know how to write it properly, anybody's story can be cool.
Yeah. Well, like if you look at like Tiffany Haddish and her book, did you know that in 8 months, it sold like, I think it's like 600 or 700,000 copies, and she's going to break 1 million by the end of the year, I'm
Just
sure.
Crazy.
Do you know why? Because she's so fucking honest, and through everything she talks about it, everything that, whatever it is, and it's such a great book.
Yeah.
And I got the audio version because I love her so much.
Did she record it vocally?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so cool.
And she reads it so great. But I'm such a big fan of any comedian's story because why do we get up there, and why are we actors, and why do we put ourselves up there? Because we were lacking some serious validation at some point in our life, right? And we're like, somebody love me, please.
Yeah.
I need instant gratification.
It's for sure a big part of it. I mean, why, every comic has to go through a moment where they're like, I need to feel like laughter, or they, like you crave it. I don't know.
Like I'm not going to get the love from my family. So maybe strangers will love me.
Exactly. Like my parents, I always say this to my mom because we're close now, but we weren't when I was a teenager. I think that's probably the case with a lot of teenage girls and their mothers. But I'm always like, you guys support me because you have no choice, because I'm your only kid, number one. And number two, I didn't give myself a plan B.
Right.
But like every other day, my mom will be like, I just wish you would have finished college. And I'm like,
really?
Yeah. She'll like still make these little digs.
Really?
And I'm like, no.
And you're like, I wish you would have taken a plan B.
No. I'm glad I'm here. I really am. Actually, I wouldn't know if I wasn't here. So
exactly.
Nobody would be the wiser.
That made no sense. But in my head for a second, it was a really good comeback.
It was. That would have been perfect if I was like 14.
Exactly.
Like, I wish you would have. It's probably something I did say to her back in the day.
Oh my God. I know, for sure.
How did you get into this world of entertainment? Like what was your come up story, or how did you lead into
it? Was all very, very weird. I was living in Texas, and I was engaged to this guy. My whole thing, I was going to be a teacher. I left home when I was 13 years old.
What?
And I ran away. I was a runaway. I said, fuck you to the family at a very early age.
Whoa.
It was like a really, really kind of tumultuous kind of thing. I didn't say fuck you. I actually just wanted them to like find me and but
come
I
after
just
you.
but so, and I would check myself in and out of schools all across Texas pretending that I was my mom. But not like going into the office. I would do phone calls. I would call the school and say, I can't come in, I'm at work. And I mean, there's a whole weird thing there. But teachers, and even when I was in junior high, it was the weirdest thing because I wouldn't go to school, and I was the only person that never got in trouble. It was literally like I was invisible. Like I could do anything and not get in trouble. And I would try to get in trouble. And I don't know what it was. I don't know why I never got in trouble. And I think I just wanted attention so bad. I was willing to do, and I was just like, whatever it was. So I decided that I wanted to be a teacher because I became very empathic to, and just like whatever it was. And I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher because that was like probably where the worst part of my life started, when I was in kindergarten. And I just remember wishing that I had a teacher that was, it was so weird. It was so weird.
This is crazy. I didn't know any of this about you.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
And so I was engaged to this guy.
When you were how old?
God, let's see. Okay, so it was probably 23 or 24. And I was in Texas, and I was doing my internship at a preschool. And one day I came home early for a lunch break, and I gotten him lunch. And my best friend's car was outside. And I was like, oh, Kelly's here. That's awesome. So I walked inside, and then I saw Kelly's bra and her pants, and then his pants and her purse. And I followed a trail to the back of the bedroom. And she's riding him on top of my fiance, my best friend of 14 years.
What?
Yes. And I had this bag of food in my hand from where I'd stopped, and my ring on my finger. And I sat there in the door and just watched them fuck for a minute. until she noticed me. They stopped. And the only thing that I could say was, I guess y'all have worked up an appetite. And I put the bag down on the table, took off my ring, put it next to the bag, and left, got in my car, bawled my head off, and drove to California the next day.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and that's how that, I just wanted to get the fuck out of there. Now, mind you, I was a runaway. So anytime anything bad happened, I was like, I'm leaving. And that's what I did in that situation too. And went through Vegas, and I had my dog with me. I didn't have anything else. I had $250 to my name, and that's all I had. I didn't have anything. And I stopped in Vegas, went to Caesar's Palace, which is, I've always wanted to go. I don't think had even really been out of Texas. And on my first try on the slot machine, I won $2,500.
Krista!
And I got a room at Caesar's.
That was the universe giving you a fucking bone after what you just went through.
I'm telling you. And I was like, oh my God, my life is starting. And
I have chills right now.
And I got my dog and I stayed in the room. We ordered room service. I got a steak, and my dog and I ate a steak and a baked potato at Caesar's Palace in the room. And I drove the next day into Los Angeles. And that's how that all happened. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but there's so many layers of stories and so many different things. But
sure,
there was I knew some people that were in LA, and I kind of hooked up with those people that, somebody knew somebody of something. But man, there are so many crazy stories that I used to date a guy named August Bush III, he found me when I was a Texas Budweiser girl. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think I was 21 yet, but I met him, and he fell in love with me, and I ended up moving to St. Louis for a minute. And
oh my gosh.
It ended up being really crazy, but I moved back very quickly. That's a whole other story. But he knew people in Los Angeles. What I didn't know is the person that he knew that was his connection was actually a pimp. And that got me into a very strange world.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was like...
We have to go out for drinks after this. I don't know what party you're going to, but I'm going to follow you there, because there's so much story left to be I want to be the person to help you write this story.
It's so much. I was just talking to Tucker Max the other day. Do you know Tucker?
Yeah, Tucker Max. I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell.
Yes.
Right? That book?
I was talking to Tucker because he has this thing, and I was like, I want to write a book. I have all these crazy stories. And he was like, figure out what you want to do. Figure out what you want to do. Because he co-wrote Tiffany Haddish's book. You know what I mean?
I didn't know that.
And so he took on that. But Tiffany is amazing. And she has said, I'm not at that relevancy place that Tiffany is either. So he's not like, yes.
Well, she just timed everything so perfectly. Yeah. And, because I used to work with her a lot back in the day. And we used to work with my friend Samson, who was at Bite Size TV.
Yeah. When
that little studio was there at Hollywood and Vine by the Metro. Really cool little studio. And they used to shoot stand-ups, little stand-up clips there, but they had all the dollies and stuff. So the shots were really, really cool. And they had done a game show pilot that I was on with Tiffany. And it was the first time I'd worked with her, where we were both cast as a comedians on something.
Oh, right.
And she was already really established as a comedian. I was maybe only 4 years in at that time. But I had a blast working with her, and she showed up and was doing her own makeup and putting her lashes on. And she was like, girl, I do all this stuff. I got to make myself look like
She's never changed.
She's never changed. She's always been awesome. And I've worked with her plenty. Great. And I always say and will always say I'm so proud and happy for people that I know are really good people that hit their stride and they make a break.
Man, I love her story so much.
Me too.
I adore her. She's literally one of my comedy role models. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In terms of all of
and that's why she would be such a great, eventually, maybe when her stuff calms down, I could get her on this podcast. But
you should.
Because that's exactly it. You don't have to be a perfect role model on paper to become a really great role model to people. In fact, it's better to have had those mistakes because,
oh my gosh.
What else? We all fuck up.
Right. But, and what's kind of great is I think now we're kind of living in an age where all of everybody's bullshit is so. Why are podcasts so successful? Why are these books so great? Because there's even though there might be a judgment on some of this stuff, people want to know the humanity of it all. And human condition is the new, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we love it.
Yeah.
We love it. And we do it in a way where it's like, I'm like that too, which is for me with comedy, and with anybody for comedy, is having that moment of connecting with people that are experiencing or have experienced or know someone who has experienced the same unfortunate choices.
Yeah.
Or the same feelings, and then getting to laugh about it. And I think comedy's like blown up in the past couple of years.
It has, and it's gotten to be such a cool time because, once you do discover what it is that your story is or what it is that you came to tell, it's really fun for everybody involved.
Yeah.
'Cause like I'm going through it right now where last weekend while I was in Just for Laughs, that was supposed to be
How was it?
It was so fun.
So great.
It was the best because it's everybody awesome in one place. And so it was so much fun. I haven't my face and body hurt from just laughing.
Oh my God, that's
I had been in New
amazing.
York performing for a week before going to Montreal and then was in Montreal for 6 days. And so it was just like comedy. And I just don't get sick of it. I just don't get sick of it.
How can you get sick of it?
It was wonderful. But this last weekend was supposed to be my original wedding date.
Oh, wow.
So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So what happened basically, and my fiance does not listen to the podcast, so I feel like I can air this, but it's going to be aired anyway because I'm putting out a book and a one-woman show and all that stuff. We got engaged over a year ago. And once we got engaged, I started to kind of have second thoughts.
Right.
We've been together for 7 years and known each other for almost 12. But there were certain things like I'm very, very career, but also travel and life and like spontaneity. And I was realizing there were some things that were missing in my relationship.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, long story. But basically in March, we decided to just postpone. So I had to call everybody and tell them that we weren't going to get married on July 25th.
And then everybody's worried.
Everybody's worried.
Are you guys okay?
Yeah, my best friends don't mind. Like, they don't care, like the wedding party and stuff. But
family that don't know, that are nosy and are going to think the worst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and you're like,
every day somebody's like, what's going on with you guys? And I'm like, we don't even, we're totally in a limbo phase right now where we're trying to figure out like if we are each other's life partners.
Up? Did you take a break?
We did take a break at one point.
Did you see other people?
No, we didn't. We didn't see other people. But yeah, I mean, it's just super interesting. And I've been talking about it on stage. And after every show, at least one, usually 2 or 3 people will come up to me and say how bad their engagement was. And I didn't realize
before it happens.
It's the space between. It's like the purgatory, if you will, like where you're just stuck. You're like, am I going to get into heaven or am I going to burn in hell?
Right.
That's what it feels like. And so it's been really cool to get that kind of feedback. And so I started writing. I was going to just put it out on Wattpad, but now it's going a little bit different of a direction because there's interest in it. But Diary of a Bad Fiance is my book.
That's awesome.
And it's a tell-all about how bad I have been during this engagement process.
Wow, that's really encouraging to a lot of other people. Only because that's what happens.
I mean,
and nobody wants to talk about it because it doesn't. If you can see the beauty in things that aren't pretty, that's you got something. And that's what you're doing with this. You know what I mean?
Well, and
you're coming out the other side,
and it's not on him. Like he didn't do anything wrong. This is all in my mind and like the way that I'm reacting.
It always
to
is, isn't it? It always is.
Like I was reading a book while I was going through all this stuff. I was reading this book on grief because I had also lost a friend that same month. So the same month we postponed our wedding, one of my friends had died, and I realized the 7 stages of grief is actually the stages I've gone through as an engaged woman. Like I've never experienced grief like that, but I experienced engagement like that.
Like anger and fear. And is my career going to take a nosedive? And is he going to
denial
have babies? And am I going to like all of it? Like I'm not ready for this. And oh shit, maybe I made the wrong mistake. Oh God.
And so that's what I kind of, that's how I kind of chaptered it out in the beginning was against like going against those stages of grief and combating the fact that those are actually stages of
that's
like,
really
engagement.
Funny. And you're supposed to be the happiest time, right?
It's so weird, but
it's really funny.
But it's fun to talk about that, especially with other women. Like, I had Jen Sturger on a couple weeks ago, and
Oh yeah, she's engaged right now,
she
right?
just got married.
Oh, she
in
did.
January.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's right. That's right. I don't know her very well.
Yeah, but she's super cool, and it's it's fun to talk to women that are honest, that are also work in entertainment.
Yeah.
That because we go through a lot being in entertainment too. There's a lot of exposure to really cool, creative, intelligent.
Oh my God.
People.
Yeah.
And it's tough on couples. Like, even if you do make it to marriage, like, so many people experience hard shit because you're always on screen with somebody. You have to have chemistry with other people.
Yeah.
I mean, do you experience that with your relationships over the years?
I mean, I am growing at like a rapid pace right now from where I was, because I'll say yes, all of that. But I was so insecure. And I was so insecure, and I think I've had such abandonment issues in general that I would look at every relationship that I was in like it was going to save me. And I put so much pressure on that relationship. And if anything would go wrong, like if I was dating an actor, or there was like something, or some really hot co-star, there could be nothing going on, but my head would say that there was, and I would get jealous, and I would make shit up in my head, and it was ridiculous. And I would do this until I finally realized what I was really doing, and it took a really long time. And I'm not free from it. I still go through places where I'm like, whatever it is, and it's just that I like to talk about like being in alignment versus being out of alignment. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? So like when I'm in alignment, nothing matters except my connection to myself, to who I am. And then I'm super strong and I don't need anything. The minute I'm thrown out of alignment is when insecurities and
you
jealousy
question everything
and the self-loathing or whatever it is. And it's like, and I'll just go down this rabbit hole of, I could think one negative thought, and if I stay in that place, so many other things are going to come up and join those thoughts for me. And then the next thing you know, I'm pissed, and I don't even know what I'm mad at. I'll just start getting re-annoyed at shit that happened 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just get re-annoyed. It's like whatever it is. It's like, and I started to realize I was doing that. And so for the past year, I've been just really super aware of my thoughts. And the minute that I start to feel shitty about stuff, if I get that surge of rage, anger, or jealousy, I go, oh, what am I doing? This is that thing that I did, that, where am I?
Sure.
So I still do it. I still have those moments, but I'd have to say that it's much better. So yes, it's definitely caused problems. And I would also pick guys that I think I was coming from a very codependent place, and I would pick guys that were very narcissistic from that place. So we were a perfect match.
Yeah.
Codependency and narcissism, or another label for it is avoidant and anxious attachment. So avoidant.
Oh, interesting.
And then, so I'm the anxious attachment, which is all of the codependency, and avoidant are people that are like, I can do it on my own. And the minute that you want to try to get close to them, they freak out. Or the minute that they feel close to you, they're like, I'm going to end this before. And so it was crazy making, because I would pick those people.
And you'd have like really tumultuous, fighty type of...
all the time.
Yeah.
And then I would always end up being the one that, and I'm saying all this stuff, I'm going really, it wasn't like I was ever mean or anything. I just think I would pick people that were crazy making for me, and I was crazy making for them. So that was where I was always picking wrong.
That was like, because I went through that with my ex. People use this term gaslighter. Have you heard of gaslighters?
Yeah.
So
that's what every therapist just told me every boyfriend has been.
I didn't know what that was until recently. I forgot who was telling me about it, but that's
making you think you're crazy.
Yeah. And that's what my ex was at. And so it was super interesting, because it was my first relationship where I lived with somebody. So I thought that I was like, oh, maybe I'm just bad at relationships. And now, at least, no matter what happens with my engagement, whichever direction we decide to go, I know that I'm not bad at relationships because I've had one for 7 years. Like that's like a small child, you know?
It really is. No, it's good, but you're also growing, which is where like you're also growing and expanding.
You
That's
learn
like why
so
we're here.
much, yes.
But it's true. And gaslighting sucks. And the whole thing where men are like, oh my God, she's fucking crazy. She's fucking crazy, dude. She's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And you're like, why is that all you have?
I know.
Is that all you have?
And it sucks that people think the women are the crazy. I'm like, we have to deal with a lot. We have birth control. Okay, we're being pumped with hormones all the time.
Yeah,
we have to.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but men are generally like, oh my God, she's so crazy.
And on top of that, they call you crazy, and then it makes you actually think you are.
Well, they're like, I don't understand women. What? I don't understand what they want. And we're like, well, actually, the thing is, I don't even know what they want. Well, what we want is, I guess we'll never know. You know, that's what it's like. We're like, fuck you.
Oh my God.
You know, we get crazy because men can be very stupid. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And in terms of relationships, let's not to offend any men out there, I guess. So it's like they're not stupid. They just have bad luck thinking.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's more just like this is kind of how like a dry sponge is what I've told my fiance before. Like you're catching stuff, but then like it doesn't stick. Like he'll kind of hear stuff I say, but not really listen to it.
No, because they literally, our mouths are moving and it's like they're thinking of a fish show or something. You know what I mean? They're like, did you see Trey last night? Yeah, man, that was awesome. They're just going through Trey. And I'm just saying.
They're still playing the video game you made them stop playing an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just hearing and their hand, no. I remember one time my boyfriend said, "You're like a woodpecker. You're like a woodpecker on my forehead," like constantly. And I was like, that is just mean. That there's nothing else there. And I was like, what a great analogy. Like I'm like a woodpecker. And I was like, what am I doing? Because I was trying to, you know what we do? We try to explain. Mm-hmm. We try to explain, and I think that's where the woodpecker thing comes from. Because I was like, no, what I was saying was you misunderstood me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you ever get this? This is one of the ones that I get so frustrated with. It's like, so, you know, you call, like, I'll call up my boyfriend and I'll be like, hey, so are you coming over? And he's like, no, actually, I'm going to go grab a drink with the boys. And I'm like, yeah, but we had plans. And he's like, all right, well, oh, that's right. Well, I mean, I don't have to go if you don't want me to. And then I go,
not the best.
And then I'm like, well, no. I mean, he's like, and I'm like, no, I mean, go. And he's like, what, are you pissed I'm going to hang out with my friends? I'm like, no, we had plans. And he's like, well, I just said I wouldn't go. And I was like,
you're like, I'm the bad guy no matter what happens here.
And it literally is so hard. And we're trying to work through these situations because that's what the majority of our fights are. And then he always feels like he has done something wrong. Mm-hmm. So guys always feel like they do things wrong. And I'm trying to figure out a way, and maybe it's just the guys have to be accountable for that shit too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, okay. Because like, does that ever happen where it's like, well, I mean, I don't have to go if you don't want me to.
Yeah.
You know? And then you're like, why is this on me? Because if you wanted to do it, just say, no, I would rather go hang out with my friends. And I go, oh, all right, I'll see you later, though.
Yeah.
Not in this other thing. But those have been like the kinds of fights that we would get into.
Yeah.
And then I walk away going.
A lack of proper communication. That's what all of ours stem back to. Like whenever we've argued, it's just like lacking communication. And I don't mean like the type of communication where I'm like, you know, where you're like, let's sit down and have a talk. Like, not that. Just like saying the shit that you're going to do. Like, that's why I started keeping a calendar for, like, I'm old school and I write everything on a real calendar just because I'm weird and, like, my mom did that.
Yeah.
But I always write, like, our shit down and I just know, like, okay, for this week, he's just not around.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But it took a while for him to start, like, telling me when he had, like, shit planned.
Got it.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a guy thing. They just...
You know, I think it's the freedom. I think guys, you know, there's like that little boy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like most men are little boys, right? And just like we're freaking little girls. Like, we're still just a girl and they're still boys. And we're just like in these grown-up adult bodies and, you know, we can buy alcohol. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but we're still trying to figure it out. And wherever we came from, our role models growing up and things like that, they are the ones that taught us the things that we took into our life and believed. And that's where we get fucked up.
You don't realize how much that affects you.
Well, you do until you do. And then you go, oh my God, I have believed this about the world or about guys or about relationships or whatever it is my whole life based on what I saw.
Yeah.
And like a belief is just a thought you keep thinking, right?
Yeah,
so think a better thought. Like let's change that shit up because that's not my story. And that's where we go to. And I know at least with where I came from, I mean, the world was the scariest place in the world to me. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my God, like what the heck? Like that life is really unfair, you know, like that was, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, you know,
right?
whatever it was.
Yeah. And you're then, like, well, what is any of that? What is fair anyway? Right. Like what is...
But then but you just know everybody's going to take something from you because that's what their beliefs were. And I don't know, like it's funny. Like my son is 21 and he's amazing. He is awesome. And he's watched me go through so many different ebbs and flows in my life. And he is so smart and he has his own mind. And I've encouraged that. But I'm sure that there are things in his life too, or his belief systems that, you know, I'll watch unfold that might be something that I gave him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even so, like if he says, oh God, I just have, you know, I can't clean. My room is a mess. I can't clean. I don't even know how. And I'm like, no, I gave you that because I would do it for you. And then you never thought that you could do it by yourself because I would do it. So you can. And he's like, oh yeah, that's right. But he lives on his own now. And he's
does he live in LA?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, cool. He lives in LA. He's doing amazing. He's awesome. He's the best thing in the entire world. I mean, seriously.
That is so cute.
I did so good. I did so freaking good. He's awesome. So yeah. But anyway, it's fun to come from the place that I am now with all the fucked up stuff that's happened.
Yeah.
And all of these things, just life in general, and how I was responsible for all of it. Not in a place where I'm beating myself up, but responsible for creating it based on my beliefs.
Yeah.
And then when we start to change those beliefs, shit just gets better.
Yeah.
It really does. Like even for the relationships or friends or meeting people.
Or just how you look at yourself or your career, because that can be a big thing for people too, is like, you know, I'll sit down with, you know, we just have this big group of women comics that I think we all respect each other. And I'll go out for drinks with like, you know, Jacqueline Marfuji or Ariel, and we'll just have like life chats about like where we are as people, where we are career-wise. And nobody's ever quite satisfied with any of it ever, because I think it's just kind of ingrained in a lot of people to just be like,
but the struggle is real.
Yeah. And
but it's not.
And the common thing too with like a lot of friends, you know, is thinking that the other friends are doing so much better because you haven't talked in a couple weeks. And then you meet up and they're like, oh, I didn't realize that this was, because things always look so good on paper or on social media. And then,
people say that to me all the time. They're like, you're killing it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get to do shows.
Yeah.
And that's great. But, you know, it's not like I'm getting paid money. I mean, it's not like I'm going to, you know, the free parking show and getting paid any money. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's
but I get to get on stage and that's amazing. But let's like killing it is like a little, you know,
I know,
ambitious.
Well, and people are always like, oh, you're in New York every month. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. But also like New York, you like with shows and stuff, you like are lucky if you break even. Yeah. You know, just because New York is an expensive place.
Yes.
Like if you walk, as they say, if you walk outside New York, $100 just falls out of your pocket. Like it's just true. So I was there for a week before Montreal, and you just spent so much money. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what I did, but I also don't say no to doing anything. So it's like my own fault, but
except getting married. What? Hey.
Wow. Score for Krista. Oh my God. That was good. So you and I were chatting about drinking a bit, which was actually pretty fun and poignant, because I was telling you before we got on the podcast how I had, before I moved to LA, I had gotten like my quote unquote get out of jail free card moment where I got pulled over for drunk driving, which I didn't think that I was drunk because I had had 3 beers, but I had 3 Belgian Strongs, and I didn't equate that was like 4 or 5 or 6 beers.
Oh, wow. What did you say?
So I didn't think I was drunk. So I got pulled over, and my friend that was in the passenger seat had only smoked weed. So I just decided to drive because I thought I was totally fine. So they pulled me over. I was in heels. So I was like, oh, let me take my heels off. I can't do this stuff in heels. And I was joking with them the whole time. And one of the guys was a trainee. So there was like a Latino lady who was probably in her like 40s. There was an older white dude who was like, sergeant-y feeling. And then this young guy who was doing the drill for me. So it was like 2 cop cars and this like young guy. The young guy was joking back with me, and then the Latina lady started to joke back with me, and then the older guy kind of loosened up.
That sounds like an amazing.
It wasn't bad at all, and my friend was just sitting on the curb, like watching me, like she was watching a spectacle go down.
She's high, and she's like, "This is amazing."
She was
Where's
so entertained.
Yeah,
and so they had me do the walking, they had me do the balancing, and they were talking to me about how good my balance was. And I was like, I was in dance for years. I haven't done it in a long time, but I really want to get back into it, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, we were like hanging out for like an hour. I call it hanging out because it did not feel like they were trying to get me for drunk driving. Anyway, I passed all the tests, and they said, you passed all the field sobriety tests. We're going to let you go. And my friend was like, well, I'm totally, so I haven't drank at all. And they were like, okay, your friend can drive home. They had her blow. She blew 0 because she was just high. And they were like, all right, we've released you. Your friend's going to drive. Do you want to just blow? He was like, I'm in training. Like, do you want to just blow so we can just have an assessment? And I was like, that's a trap. And he was like, no. We actually have let you go. Like, you're cleared. So if you want to just blow for fun, you can. I was like, fine.
And then he pulled out his dick.
Yep. I actually, when I used to tell this story on stage like 6 or 7 years ago, I did tell it like that.
Really? That's
that was my tag. And so I blew 0.18.
Is that a lot?
It's
I don't
lot.
even know.
It's like over double the legal limit.
Okay. See, I know nothing about that.
So I had drank a couple Belgian beers, and I'd also taken like 2 O-bomb shots and stuff. And like, so I thought I was totally fine.
Wow.
And I blew over double. So just...
They were like, wow, you really do have good balance.
They did. And they were like, where? And I was like, yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. I guess we can drink a lot.
You're now bragging.
I was like bragging about how sober I was acting.
That's really funny.
And after that, I was like, I'm never going to drink and drive again because there's no way I'll get that lucky again. There is no way. And thankfully, Uber and Lyft came about like 2 years later. So then we could get around
Which
LA
basically
again.
just created more alcoholics, right?
Exactly.
Now we're like, let's go.
That's exactly it. The taxi industry fought it back, but the bar and alcohol industry was like, bring it on.
Yeah, they're like, we love this. We're going to give you coupon codes so you can get fucked up too. We just, put in the thing.
Exactly.
I had one of those too. I was telling you. I don't know. This was like, I think it was probably like 8 years ago or something like that. And I had my boyfriend's truck at the time. And it was when maybe it was longer than that. I can't remember. I had George Clooney's truck. And
what? You were dating George?
Yes, George and I dated on and off for like 13 years until right before I got married. But I had his truck, right? And I was with my friends, and we were leaving Crazy Girls,
the strip club.
And we had gone to Crazy Girls just some random night. I don't know. I really wasn't drinking that much, but I had probably like 2 vodka sodas. So definitely had something. They were wasted, but I was driving and I was trying to be responsible drinking 2 drinks in somebody else's car. But when we pulled out of the Crazy Girl parking lot, the 2 girls, one in the front, one in the back, started putting their hands out the window going, wah! And I pulled into the Rock and Roll Ralph's parking lot. Because I saw a police light started going on as we were pulling out, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting pulled over. But just in case, I like dove into the parking lot, and 3 motorcycle cops and 1 cop car followed us into the parking lot. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, I was dying. I was like, this isn't my car. This is his car. This is going to be a nightmare. They did the whole thing. They asked me to step out of the car. I was in heels too. I was walking the thing, and I was like, guys, I'm fine. They asked me to blow. Now, my friends are completely wasted, and they're laughing in the truck, right? Which is making it so much worse.
So much
and they're
worse.
Like, blow it, Krista, blow it. And I was like, oh my God. So I did this. I went to go blow, and I pretended I had asthma. So I couldn't blow. So basically what my thing was is I'd go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me try it one more time. I have asthma. And I started doing this thing like I couldn't blow. And he was like, well, just try. I need you just to blow out. And I do it again and I take a breath and I fake asthma. And
oh my God, that's genius.
I did not have to. And then he let me go because he couldn't get a reading and they ended up letting me go. And he was like, do you have your inhaler? And I was like, no. And I made up this big story. And I was like, my friend just broke up with her boyfriend and they're wasted. And I haven't been drinking. We went there, whatever. and there, it was like the same thing, but they had me do like the field tests and stuff like that, which I thank God I passed. But I faked asthma to get out of, because I knew I was going to.
So good.
And I did it because I didn't want them to take his car. I knew it would go in the news immediately because it was his car.
Sure.
So the stakes were really high. You know what I mean? And we're leaving crazy girls. And I'm like, whatever. It could have been a nightmare. And I was like, what am I doing? But yeah, that was my story. That was
my God.
But that was why I was like, I got to think of something big to get out of
brilliant. And also like unoffensive. Like nobody's mad if you mimic a person with asthma.
Right. And you know what? I can do that because my son does have asthma, so it's close to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't even know what it sounded like. I just knew that it just came out of my head. I have asthma, and I just go, I don't even know. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it was a trip.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What was it like dating George for so long?
That's such a weird question.
Yeah. I feel like it is a weird question.
Yeah.
But
like it was dating somebody that I really cared about. Like I don't know.
No.
Do you
but
know what I mean?
He's so iconic to so many people.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
But I guess maybe it just doesn't feel like that when you're in a relationship with somebody like that.
You take look, he is one of the most wonderful people on the face of the planet.
He seems so great.
He is a wonderful, wonderful person. He has the biggest heart. And honestly, when you date anybody, you take, like, whatever that is, like, I took the Clooney out of George way early on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was just a relationship there. But, he was one of, he's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person.
That's so cool. I mean,
honestly.
I didn't know that. And so I just found that very fascinating.
Yeah.
That had to have been just a very interesting time in your life.
Yeah. Well, the story, the breathalyzer story the stakes wouldn't be so high unless I shared the fact that I was trying to save. Like, can you imagine? I'm so sorry. He's like, you had to. Why? Leaving crazy girls drunk in my car. Like, it just would have been a terrible story. I just didn't. I was trying to be a good person. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. What are some of the coolest, like, I mean, I always try to look at things from a positive way. I'm not one of those people that likes to have dirt on people. Like, I don't really operate that way.
I love having dirt on people.
But I want to hear, like, because you have worked for 20 years with so many great people. Who is somebody that you thought was really surprisingly amazing to work with? And or maybe somebody that was surprisingly not amazing to work with. You don't have to say the name, but you could.
I'm trying to think. I have had such good luck on so many different things. And honestly, I got to say, from my own experience, I think I didn't come into my own who I am. Mm-hmm. I'm such a late bloomer emotionally. Like, it's ridiculous.
Which is fine. That's what life is all about.
But I also know that I didn't understand. I think that the majority of people, I guess I'm stumbling right now because I'm trying to articulate it properly. I've never felt like I fit in anywhere and I'm just starting to. So I was always super insecure and I'd keep myself really small. And I was always afraid that nobody liked me. And I was going through that.
So interesting, because everybody loves you.
Thank you.
I mean, for real though.
But I didn't really love myself very much, or whatever those things were in my head.
Sure.
And it was just all this stuff. And so I never fully enjoyed myself. Do you know what I mean? And
sure.
So I was the person that would go get my lunch from catering, and I'd go to my trailer and eat it just because I was more comfortable than being around people. And that's one of the reasons I started stand up, is to punch through that social anxiety, that crippling social anxiety of being in a room with people that I don't know. And I would talk really soft and whatever it was really hard. And then you think you're an actor?
Yeah.
Like what? Or you're doing stand up?
Well, you just open up when the camera comes out. That's the
difference. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a very different, but then intimacy with another person was really, really hard for me, or small talk with a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
I literally would just go crazy. So it's hard for me to even say that because I was so intimidated by so many people.
It's just so interesting.
And I just was like, I just would get really quiet. But I've been really lucky, and people have been amazing. And I have friends that I would always end up finding like one girlfriend that is still I'm friends with to this day, that, somehow it's one-on-one is good for me, but like groups is really hard.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people that operate that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's like, I'm trying to think. I got to work with Jack Nicholson. He was awesome. Super, super funny. Adam Sandler, really super funny.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really fun to work with. I'm trying to think of any of the horror stories.
That's my thing too, is I have more better stories than I do bad. Like I can't even remember, because I've worked with some, major comics, and I'm just like, I don't really.
I have a story.
Oh, yay. Okay.
I have a story. I just thought of one, but it's not really that funny or anything, but it is kind of funny. It was me for the first time trying to stand up for myself, and no pun intended when you hear the story. I just thought of that. So Eric Roberts, I was working with Eric Roberts on a thing, and I was wearing heels. And in the scene, he came on, I was standing next to him, and he just looked at me and goes, "Take your heels off. You're too tall." And I remember it was that moment, and I was like, I was so embarrassed when it was in front of everybody, and everybody was staring at me. And I looked out and I go, "Can somebody get an apple box for Mr. Roberts?"
Oh.
And I didn't take my shoes off. And I remember it was that moment where I was like, no. And then whatever
your
that
balls
was,
felt so big.
My balls did. And so it's not that, it's the kind of, I think it was the way that it was said to me, as opposed to, "Hey, do you mind if you could,"
Right.
I think it was like, "Take your shoes off, you're too tall." And I just went, it was like my brain just misfired. And I went into this place, so he could probably say that I was awful, and I would say that he just didn't say anything right. But I went back at this thing, like it wasn't even like I made a joke about it. I was like, "Can somebody get a?" But then after I was done, like everybody was like laughing. They're like, "That was awesome," and I was like,
"Oh my God!"
Yeah, it was that was one of those moments where I think my balls dropped.
I have so many balls drop moments that I heard from people while I was in JFL too.
Yeah.
Where people, like girls will tell me like, "Yeah, and that was the moment I feel like my balls dropped." And I'm like, this is really great. That should be its own show.
Yeah, it is. It's like, it is that moment. But you know what I think, and women do this sometimes, or I know I did. Mm-hmm. That is not the way to handle a situation. Do you know what I mean? If you want to handle it with grace, and now it's funny, and if I was a guy, it would be even funnier.
Sure.
But do you know what I mean? Like, and it was like this kind of thing. But it's funny because women will get characterized, "Oh, she's a bitch because this happened." But it's when we don't know how to gracefully manage our balls dropping in a way that could have been, because whatever it was, like I'm thinking about this story and I'm like I could have handled, if I would handle it so much differently now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of this instant reaction, like, "Will somebody get him an apple box?" Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting how, because I always think I'll handle things well too, and for the most part I do, but the only time I kind of don't is when somebody's demeaning.
That's how it felt. Yeah.
Like, because I'll naturally, like the Dominican side of me will come out, and I'll just be like,
I think that's what happened, and I'm not even Dominican.
but it's inside of all of us where we have kind of that, it's kind of like a defense mechanism.
Yes.
And it just kind of like catches me off guard sometimes too. It's generally not with me, it's with my friends. If somebody fucks with my friends.
Absolutely.
Or like has an attitude at somebody. I remember being in line at like a what was this, a Bevmo?
Yeah.
And this guy in front of me was being so shitty to this cashier chick because she had to check his ID. And I totally just got into it. I was
really? Were you like, why are you being such a dick?
Yeah, I was just like, it's not her fault. It's not her fucking fault. She's doing her job.
And he's like, this is none of your business.
Yeah, I was like,
I knew it. That's what they always do.
And then I said something along the lines of like, what are you running from law wise? Or like, what are you hiding from that you can't let her scan your fucking ID? Like, just let her scan your ID.
Such a big deal.
But it was just I just remember being like, why did I even get involved in that? But I was like, it was an injustice moment that I saw. And I was like, I just can't watch that happen.
Yes, it's a moment that you're watching and you have to make it better and stand up for the little person. And she's probably like, I get this all the time, by the way.
So how long have you been doing stand-up now?
Not even a year yet.
Not even a year. Oh my God. I knew it was really soon.
Yeah.
But, what do you think you want your goals to be? Because I mean, you have such a breadth of work, and I think it's super interesting to me. No matter who does comedy, what ends up getting them to that point. Like we have so much to catch up on over drinks as far as your just life story. I feel like I need to have you on for like 4 hours.
Oh my God, it would be so fun.
But we'll do like episode number 1, episode continued. But coming from already having success that a lot of people don't have.
Right.
And then moving into a space where you're kind of the newbie and so having to rediscover yourself in that way. Mm-hmm. It's got to be really cool.
It's really, honestly, this is a rebirth
and
for
humbling.
Me. I guess, but you know what? I was already kind of humbled because things got really slow. I was humbled a couple of years ago when the industry, auditions weren't coming in as much and things. I was like, what is going on? And, I'm very happy for the diversity thing, by the way. I just want to say that. But I, as a white girl, was definitely affected because there was other people were getting hired and my friends were working, which was amazing. And I loved it. But for me, I was like, oh God, can I just have a little bit, And I just wasn't getting hired as much. And I had just come off a series and it still wasn't working. And that was a moment where I went, I don't really have that relevancy that I need just to go into another show. And I'm not at that place. And I had taken some time off before that. And it was in that moment that I was like, you know what? I'm going to start over. Yeah. And I need people to see me differently because I did comedy and I knew that was what I needed to be doing, but I wasn't getting cast in comedy. So I had to make a name for myself in comedy.
In that space, yeah.
And that's what I did. Because before it was just like, I'm going to steal your husband. I'm going to be the bitch.
I'm going to be the hot chick.
Or, you're like, whatever it is, I'm going to be the drunk mom. Yay.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's my favorite. But oh, wait, that wasn't a part. No. But there
was real life.
I forgot. But yeah, it was like that thing. And so I definitely felt humbled. And I looked at it with new eyes. And I went, I actually get a chance. This is like the second tier of my career, the second phase of my life. This is the next part of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, what can I do to make it better? And then I thought, I wonder, stand up and then just writing and doing sketches and going out for these comedies and doing indies that didn't pay anything, but just for great characters to play.
Yeah.
And I'd never gotten a chance to do that where I was before. And I'm so happy with these things that I'm doing now. I know it's going to turn into something, and that's the goal.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the same thing that I talk about, and I'm trying to create a workshop for this in Chicago for women because I think a lot of people don't realize because I did come out of Second City where it is very charactery, it was like sketch comedy before I got into stand-up. And so I had really wanted to play these wacky characters, and it was fine when I was in Chicago, but when I got to LA, I quickly realized I was never going to be sent in for roles like that.
Exactly.
So I had to figure out that I had to realize, I'm going to have to do some production assistant work and learn how to produce so that I can make my own shit. And then when I started my production company, I was like, okay, now I can start writing these characters for myself that are grounded because, you have to have it be grounded. But if you don't create the space for yourself, nobody else is going to.
Yeah. No, it's just like with anything from career to relationships to whatever it is,
100%.
Like nobody's going to come and save you. Mm-hmm. Nobody's. And when you get that and you realize you're not a victim and you're like, oh my God, no, I am actually super powerful and I can do this. And it feels so much better. And coming at it from that place, My best friend just moved to Atlanta because she wasn't getting jobs. She just got an apartment and went to Atlanta, and she's trying something new too. And then another friend of mine who's dual citizenship, she's moving to Canada. And you know what I mean? Like everybody's kind of trying stuff, but they're doing it for themselves. And it's like, she's been talking about, they've both been talking about it for so long, but now they're doing something about it.
Yeah.
And how powerful, just even as a woman. I was talking to somebody last night, and just it was another very, very successful actress that she's been in a lot of things. She's like, I'm just not working. And what the hell is going on? And we all need to get together. And I'm like, we do. And I was like, we got to figure something out. Let's start a movement.
Or just create a project together, you know, because when you have a bunch of names attached to something, the likelihood of it being seen or being cared about is a lot higher. And so, you know, and that's why it's been so important to me that especially like my girlfriends in comedy, and just not just even the women, but definitely I support women really hard because, you know, those are my girls.
Of course.
But it was so cool to see that at Just for Laughs. Like, honestly, it was just so happy making because it was just all these people that, you know, have worked their asses off.
Yes.
And they're finally getting shit.
Fucking great.
And I'm proud of everyone. Like,
I know.
I would rather that be the case because we all kind of figure it out together. It's not, people are realizing that it's not every man for themselves anymore. It can't be.
No, it is the best feeling. I swear it is the best feeling. I love that support. I love giving it. I love feeling it. Just whatever it is. And that has changed a lot since we were both coming up from, say, even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot more, oh my God, I don't know, you know, whatever it was. And I remember I would always be that person that wanted to make friends. And because, you know, whatever it was, like make friends with that person because I wanted to support that person.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. It's really cool now that everybody, there seems to be such a, what's the word for it? Just everybody.
Camaraderie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I feel like that too.
Great.
It was magical. Like being in Montreal, I felt like a unicorn.
I bet you did. And I love it. Like I can feel the energy off of you just when you talk about it, and it makes me happy. You know?
I think we should want to feel good doing what we do. And if you don't, then you have to reassess why you're doing it.
And I think that's it too. The people, like I know for me, when I used to look at things differently or have any jealousies or do any of this stuff, or I would feel like I was less than because of someone else's success, I wasn't able to enjoy it. And my success was absolutely at a standstill. The minute that it switched and organically, you know, but I can compare the two and go, oh, that's when I was doing this to myself.
Yep.
And not as happy as I should be for myself or other people. And now that it's switched over, it's just an energy and it just flows, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's really cool. So anyway, I'm glad we got to hang out, and I feel like we need to definitely continue this down the road. But where can people find you on social media?
You guys can find me, Krista Allen XO. That is on Twitter and Instagram. And then I'm on Facebook. I think it's me, Krista, or something stupid.
Does anyone use Facebook anymore?
I do.
Oh, you do?
So
okay.
Weird. I still post on Facebook. I like but I have a fan page that one of those checkmark pages, but I don't use that one.
Yeah.
I just use my regular one, and it's public and it's open. So come on over.
Sweet.
I don't know. It's so stupid. But Instagram, and I don't do Snapchat or anything. Do you?
Yeah, I do a little bit, but mostly for friends. I usually just we'll send friend snaps. I'm mostly an Instagram and Twitter person.
And also, I have a podcast called I'm Fine with Krista Allen. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. I had Eliza Schlesinger on this week, which was awesome. She talks about we talk about her elder millennial Netflix special, and it was awesome. And you're going to come do it.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's really super fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I bet I've heard really good things about the special. I haven't watched it yet.
Awesome.
But,
oh my God.
And we have been joking about that a lot recently with friends, because like we're hitting that place where like we're kind of we are the last millennials, and so it's just like really funny to reflect on.
It is really funny. And she's so good in it. I love it so much. She's such a badass.
I know.
God, she's such a badass.
She's what, 35 and has 4 Netflix specials. Like that's insane, you guys. Have no idea how much work that
She was giving me a little advice after we were done, like just in terms of just like, she was like, it's not like I'm trying to give you advice. And I was like, no, give me advice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She was like, I'm not saying I know anything. And I'm like, I think you know a thing or two.
She's got it. She's got something going on correctly.
Yeah.
And you can find me at NPH Comedy, the podcast at Future Role Model, and Role Model Pod on Twitter. And you can follow the pop-up, the Comedy Network pop-up at Comedy Pop-up or CPU Podcasts. I'm so tongue twisted right now. And Krista, where can people see you live next week or coming up?
Gosh, I need to look at my thing. I'm doing a show at Flappers. I'm doing a bunch of bar shows. I don't know. You know what?
She'll put it on Instagram.
Go to my Instagram and I'll do something. I'll make it, and then you guys come and see me and then laugh and stuff.
And I'll be performing in LA for the next 2 weeks. Then I'll be back in New York and performing there.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we'll definitely
come to New York with you.
Come to New York with me. Okay, we'll talk about that. All right, guys, it has been Future Role Model with Krista Allen, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.